The storm had washed the avenue, the panes were bright and thin. The mannequins downstairs still wore last Saturday's ribbons. You stood beside the steaming block with straw against your wrist, a hat pin in your mouth the while you work the brim to curve. Two violet sprays in tissue slept, a spool rolled near your shoe, and every hat upon the stand looked halfway made by you. You laughed because I spoke too soon while you were holding steel, then took the pin between your teeth as if such grace were real. The hat pin in your mouth, the hat pin in your mouth. A funny little sight, I thought, the first time that I came, till morning through the workroom fell and made that quiet practice tell how beauty sometimes goes about its name. The hat pin in your mouth, the hat pin in your mouth. You set one velvet plush aside, pulled netting from its fold, then pinned a spray of wax-white bloom where plain straw turned to gold. A porter coughed below the lift, the clock struck 1:45. You tried one brim against my sleeve to judge its line and hue. Then with the pin still lightly held, you reached to smooth the seam, and all at once that borrowed hat seemed more than shop and trim. No grand design was spoken there, no secret asked to start, only your thumb beneath the crown and care enough for art. The hat pin in your mouth, the hat pin in your mouth. I thought it only part of how workday must be done, till every small exacting turn began to warm what I had learned of patience practiced bright as April sun. The hat pin in your mouth, the hat pin in your mouth. Years may take the Easter shapes, the veils, the satin and the dyes, leave photographs of altered hats and fashions no one now would prize. But not the way your morning moved, half jest, half skill, half something true. How even with both hands employed, your quiet kindness still came through. The hat pin in your mouth, the hat pin in your mouth. It comes to me whenever spring makes windows new with rain. Not merely silver, small and straight, but one more thing by which I date the hour plain living turned to grace again. The hat pin in your mouth, fitting rooms were full of wool, of hangers, pins, and thread, and September moved through polished glass in squares of quiet red. She stood beside the curtain stall with chalk upon her sleeve, the paper tags in little stacks, too plain to make believe. A salesgirl crossed with hatbox cord, a bell rang lingerie, the elevator swallowed voices and carried them away. An old seamstress from the workroom came, her purse held with both hands. She had mended coats for 30 years and never bought that brand. The gray one fit her shoulders well, but when she faced the glass, the mirror caught the ceiling more than any life that passed. She did not say, "Stand straighter, dear," or smooth the woman's pride. She only touched the outer frame and turned one panel wide. The looking glass came lower than past lamps and painted trim, until it found the careful face above the collar's rim. The old one laughed beneath her breath, a sound half shy, half new. She touched the pocket with one finger, as if the cloth were true. No ribbon marked the moment there, no clerk looked up to see. A woman used to making clothes was shown what she could be. Some labor keeps behind the seam, behind the steam and shears. It hems the sleeves for other arms and disappears for years. But now and then a steady hand will change the angle small and let the one who served the room stand bright inside it all. Turn the mirror down, let the face come through, let the glass remember her as kindly as it knew. Turn the mirror down, not praise, not grand display, only a little dignity brought closer for the day. Turn the mirror down till the coat sits right, till the woman in the workroom gray can meet herself in light. Turn the mirror down, one quiet panel moved, and all the store grew gentler there for what the glass had proved. The tags were filed, the pins were closed, the curtains lost their sound, and in the lowered fitting glass, her smile stayed looking round. mortician's bell had hardly rung. The streetcars thinned toward 5, and dust along the counter glass kept little sons alive. He stood beneath the eye chart there, with lenses in a tray, the trial frames beside his hand, the afternoon gone gray. A schoolboy chose a tortoise pair, a clerk wrapped cases brown, and May leaned through the striped front shade upon the quiet town. She came in with her sewing bag, her thimble in one seam. She said the needle looked too small and tried to make it seem a thing that happens now and then, a nuisance, nothing more. But both her hands held tight around the handle at the door. He set the little silver frame across her careful face, then turned the dial lens by lens with unannouncing grace. The black marks blurred, then cleared, then blurred. She laughed and looked away, as if the room had caught her age too plainly in the day. He did not say the years had come, or ask how long she'd known. He only took the pointer down and lowered what was shown. One line larger softly said, "Then we shall find the right." And all the shop grew kinder there around her borrowed sight. Some pride is made of tiny things, a thread passed through the eye, a name read on a medicine box, a bus sign going by. And some men know the merciful can live in where they stand, not changing what the truth has said, but placing it near hand. One line larger, let the letters stay. Let the world come close enough to meet her halfway. One line larger, plain black upon the white, yet something in her lifted chin returned into the light. One line larger, till the blur gives way, till the smallest useful things come back into the day. One line larger, no comfort spoken through, only a careful chart brought down where failing eyes could do. At closing time the case is shut, the pointer found its wall, and in the glass one lowered line still answered for us all.
Before the breakfast trays came up, before the kettle stirred, the veranda boards held salt and dark, and one waking gull was heard. She opened both the ocean doors with wool across her arm. The wicker seats were cold with mist, the brass wheels slow to warm. A folded stack of gray lap rugs lay waiting by the wall, each with a patient's little tag, pinned careful, neat and small. She set the chairs in even line, then stopped beside the last. Its cane was split along one side, its footrest lowered fast. She turned it from the shadowed rail without a word or sound, until the empty waiting chair faced where the sun came round. A nurse went by with medicine, a tray cloth brushed her knee. The tide below the garden wall kept counting quietly. She tucked the blanket at the seat, then smoothed the corner flat, and placed a cushion near the back where one thin shoulder sat. The old man would be wheeled out soon, his paper in his hand, to read the same 3 headlines twice and watch the fishing land. She knew he never asked for much, nor said the light was dear. She only made the morning wait a little closer there. Some rooms begin before we come, some kindness starts unseen. A chair turns slightly toward the dawn, a rug laid soft and clean. Not every gift is handed out, not every mercy speaks. Some simply finds the proper angle for the light a body seeks. Face the chairs east, let the sea grow pale, let the first gold touch the hands that tremble on the rail. Face the chairs east, no one need explain how much a little brightness means after a season of rain. Face the chairs east while the house is still, before the cups, before the calls, before the morning chill. Face the chairs east, one careful turn no more, and they came in like tenderness across the painted floor. At 7, wheels crossed over boards. The old man took his place, and sunrise, finding where to go, arrived upon his face. Twilight leans upon the frames, the lamp is shaded low. A phonograph begins its waltz in accents soft and slow. You draw my chair a little back and hold your hand to mine. The velvet hush about the room feels faithful and benign. The embers breathe beside the grate. The rain speaks on the pane, and all the little things we own grow still to hear the strain. When the needle caught, you hummed the turn the room forgot, and love went on where music stopped. When the needle caught, your slipper finds the older mark. The rug remembers where we lost one winter to the snow, and found one spring in prayer. You smile and murmur, darling heart, so lightly with a sigh, as if the years were folded small and set somewhere nearby. The record slips, then hesitates. One note hangs in the air. A little starlight from the glass falls silver on your hair. No grand serenade filled the stair. No trumpet knew our name. But when the phonograph let go, you never missed the frame. You only sang the absent beat, so warm, so sure, so slight. And in that borrowed thread of tune, you kept the whole room right. When the needle caught, you hummed the turn the room forgot, and love went on where music stopped. When the needle caught, the record thins to whispered dust. The fire withdraws to rose. Still one soft measure lingers on, where only starlight knows. And long after the last note fades, and long after the rain has talked, my heart keeps time to that small hum from when the needle caught. The elephant house woke before the ticket gates were wide, with straw dust in the rafters high, and October kept inside. She came along the iron rail with apples in a pail. Her sleeves rolled back, her step so soft, it hardly touched the scale. The younger ones were restless there. They swung their trunks for more. Their chains rang Once against the posts, their shadows crossed the floor. But in the farthest corner stall, where morning entered late, the old one stood and waited still beside the wooden gate. Half an apple later, when the noise had passed, she saved the sweetest broken piece and gave the old one last. Half an apple later, no crowd, no call, no claim, only one hand remembering who answered to a name. The keeper checked the water trough, then brushed the rope aside. A school bell rang beyond the park, the city stretched outside. She split one apple with her thumb, where age had made it brown, then held it up with patient palm and never hurried down. The old one took it carefully, as if the world were thin. Her great gray head bent lower there and trusted what was in. No one was there to photograph, no child was there to see, only straw and iron hooks and one small courtesy. Half an apple later, soft beneath the rind, was not enough to fill the day, but more than being kind. Half an apple later, the house grew still and wide, and all that morning seemed to lean toward what she set aside. Some faith is made of larger things, of vows and bells and art, but some is kept in pails at dawn and carried part by part. The world may feed the young and bright and praise the quick parade, yet love is often what remains when something small is saved. The gate swung open, footsteps came, the children filled the sun, and in the corner, chewing slow, the old one kept that one.
The shop fan turned the patterns up and laid them down again, while August held the window glass in heat too tired to end. You stood beside the repair bench there, with oil along your nail, the belts in black and rubber loops, the bobbins in a pail. A girl came in for navy thread, a tailor asked for chalk, and every footstep on the boards made a little wooden talk. The widow brought her singer in, wrapped round with kitchen twine, She said the wheel had caught last night and would not keep the line. You lifted off the cover cloth, then paused beneath the glare. A bent needle in the hammer foot was still held crooked there. Leave the needle there, leave the needle there. Not every broken little thing is ready for repair. Leave the needle there. I watched your fingers stay, as if the work it failed to finish had not gone away. The counter fan pushed warm air back. The street lamp found the floor. A busboy crossed the alley twice with dishes from next door. You turned the hand wheel half around, then let the motion cease. The thread still held a strip of white, no wider than a sleeve. She looked at it and touched her throat, then said, almost too low, it was his Sunday shirt, I think. The cuffs were left to sew. You did not ask how long ago, or offer softer thread. You only set the screwdriver down beside the words she said. Some labor stops without a sound, a seam left out of true. The cloth remains beneath the foot, the hand has gone from view. And some who mend the common gears know when the gentlest art is not to make the wheel move on, but leave the stop place part. Leave the needle there, let the bent point keep the little hold it still has made on what she could not keep. Leave the needle there, no comfort dressed as fact, only your hand refusing yet to hurry sorrow back. At closing time the belts hung still, the fan gave up its air, and in the lamplight on the bench, that small bright bend stayed there. The banquet hall was not yet bright, the chairs still wore their cloth, and in the florist room behind the ferns lay cool and soft. You stood beside the marble sink with water on your sleeve, a ribbon curled beside the shears, too light to quite believe. The white boxes were marked in rows, the orchids laid in twos. A bellboy came for roses once, then vanished with his shoes. And I, with no appointment there, stayed near the open door to watch you lift a purple bloom as if it weighed much more. The gentleman from table 9 came early, coat in hand, his cufflinks bright, his manner smooth, his smile too well planned. You chose the pin from off the tray, then held the lapel still, and leaned just close enough to work the stem against the twill. He thanked you with a little bow, you only turned away, then checked the ribbon on the box for Mrs. Calder's spray. I said I came to ask the time, though clocks were everywhere, and felt the room grow smaller round that orchid in the air. The pin in the corsage, silver through the green, held one flower near his heart, where mine had never been. The pin in the corsage, I watched your fingers stay, and wondered why a careful touch could take my words away. It was not jealousy, I thought, only June behind a wall, only polished hotel doors, only footsteps in the hall. Yet some small ache will find its proof in what the eye has seen, a flower fastened for another man, and no place left between. The pin in the corsage, hidden sharp and slight, kept the orchid standing proud beneath the banquet light. The pin in the corsage, no promise, no embrace, only your hand making beauty hold on someone else's place. The door swung wide, the music rose, the white boxes grew few, and on the tray one silver pin lay waiting, bright and blue. The room was blue as folded silk. The pane kept one small star. A hush from tired twilight stayed about the things that are. My brushes waited in their jar, like guests who knew the hour. The floorboards held the night a while. The curtain breathed and bowed. Below, a magnolia moved so lightly in the air. Its fragrance climbed the narrow stair, as if to find me there. Then on the glass my silhouette grew pale and fine and thin, as though the morning entering had asked to be let in. Where the blue light went, something in me went also, not lost enough for grief to to know where the blue light went. No footstep climbed the attic stair, no voice disturbed the room, yet every jar and silver tray seemed listening in the gloom. A teardrop gathered on the brush, then trembled into gleam. Not sorrow fit for any name, but sorrow near a dream. Outside the roofs were pearl and smoke, inside the canvas bare began to hold a little more than emptiness and air. No serenade came up the stair, no radiant summons shone, but when the first faint gold appeared, I felt less left alone. For some things do not come as joy, nor leave as sorrows do. They only lay a tender hand upon the heart, then move. Where the blue light went, something in me went also, not lost enough for grief to know where the blue light went. The star went out upon the pane, the blue withdrew at last. I set one quiet color down and let the shadow pass. Yet long after the room grew bright and common morning stirred, my heart kept listening to that hue, like half-remembered words.
The rails were brushed with rain and blue. One bell let go the air. The city, half in starlight now, lay folded everywhere. A woman left 2 stops ago. Her gloves were ivory pale. The door side shut and all at once the car seemed made of hail. Not cold in truth, but clear and thin, as certain hours can be, when every pain returns your face more softly than the street. Then one small turn along the line brought shuttered shops in view, and all the old familiar blocks went strange and dear and true. After the last bell, the city keeps what day forgets. In rain, in wires, in silhouettes, after the last bell. The cobblestones below the glass gave back a broken gleam. A barber pole, a darkened stair, a sign cut through with steam. No voice called out, no footsteps stayed, no door was left ajar. Yet somehow every quiet thing seemed intimate and near. My hand moved once against the pane and left no mark to keep. The rain took hold of where it was and drew it into sleep. No serenade came down the street, no bright farewell was said. But when the tram light crossed my sleeve, I thought of words long dead, and how some loves do not depart with thunder, flame, or fall. They only learn to ride the dark and answer when you call. After the last bell, the city keeps what day forgets. In rain, in wires, in silhouettes. After the last bell, the final corner bent toward dawn, though dawn was still afar. One roof kept back a little light, one pane received one star. And long after the conductor passed, and long after the rails fell still, my heart went on through that blue hour, as if it sometimes will. The depot held its diesel breath, the clocks were never still, and in the lost and found back room, the air kept November's chill. You stood behind the wooden gate with labels at your hand. A row of damp umbrellas leaned like strangers in a stand. The drivers called their routes outside, the floor shook now and then. A child's blue scarf lay folded near a lunch pail marked McGlenn. I brought the glove I'd found alone beneath the waiting seat, gray wool half wet along the thumb and dusty from the street. You took it without ceremony, turned the cuff once through, then found its mate in cubby 9, as if lost things were due. The second glove, the second glove, lying there beside the first like something not enough. The second glove, I watched your fingers stay and felt how much a missing thing can alter all the day. A sailor came for one brown case, a woman for her cane. A schoolboy claimed a spelling book and missed the outbound lane. You wrote each name in careful ink, then crossed the column clean, and made the little shelves behind look kinder than they'd been. When no one came to claim the pair, you wrapped them in a sheet and set them near the counter lamp, away from mud and feet. I said the owner might return. You said most people do, and all the buses taking leave seemed carrying me from you. I had no reason left to stand beside that office rail. No parcel lost, no question more, no coat, no hats, no mail. Yet there are rooms where absence learns the shape it meant to hide. Two gloves together on a shelf, and one man left outside. The second glove, the second glove, warm from no hand anymore, yet faithful to enough. The second glove, you placed it palm to palm and made a pair of empty things look almost safe and calm. The last bus coughed toward Mercer Street. The depot lamps came on, and on the shelf behind your chair, those gray gloves waited, gone. The sheets begin before the sky, their bright noise fills the air. A pigeon startles from the ledge, and soap runs cold and clear. You climb the last iron stair with me, the basket at your hip. Your hair already half come loose, 3 clothespins at your lip. The chimneys lean in summer haze, a whistle drifts from down below, and all the roofs are patched with wash that lifts and settles slow. You shake one tablecloth full wide, then laugh when it strikes my face, and smooth the sleeve of my blue shirt before you seek its place. One shirt in the wind, one shirt in the wind, blue among the white that morning on the line, caught by 2 small wooden pins, held where all the weather thins. And something in me there was pinned to time. One shirt in the wind, one shirt in the wind. The sheets go bright as chapel walls, the aprons bloom and sway. A baby cries 3 floors below, a radio starts to play. You stand on tiptoe for the far wire, I take the basket from your hand. You say, no, that one drips too much, and point me where to stand. Then with your wrist against my arm, you fasten down the cuff as if the breeze might carry off what daily work makes up. It was no grand appointed hour, no vow beneath a tree, only a roof, a June white sky, and washing enough for three. Yet even now the noon bell brings those linens back to mind. How lightly some hands hold a thing and still can make it bind.
One shirt in the wind, one shirt in the wind,
Blue among the white that morning on the line, caught by two small wooden pins, held where all the weather thins. And something in me there was pinned to time.
one shirt in the wind,
One shirt in the wind. By dusk the rooftop wires are bare, the basket hangs inside, but one spare pin kept in my coat has never left my side. Twilight had left the window blue, the curtains held the night. A phonograph began to sigh in little threads of light. The dishes dried beside the sink, the towels hung in rows. Your apron slept upon its hook when the fire leaned low. The velvet chair stood half aside, the rug lay warm and red. You crossed the room in slippered grace and smiled at what I said. When the fire leaned low, we found one waltz the day had spared, and all the quiet room was shared. When the fire leaned low, your hand came softly to my sleeve, as if by old design. The mantel clock forgot its part when your step fell into mine. A little starlight touched the pane, a little ember sighed, and every turn across the floor made all the years grow wide. No serenade came through the street, no grand occasion shone, only the record warm and thin, and us when day was done. I think love learns a gentler voice when much of youth is through. It lives in chairs pulled back with care and making room for two. It lives in darlings said half low, in hands that know the way, in one more waltz before the dark can take the light away. When the fire leaned low, we found one waltz the day had spared, and all the quiet room was shared. When the fire leaned low, the phonograph grew faint and small, the embers turned to gold. Still one last turning crossed the rug, as tenderly as old. Twilight had long since left the square. The cobblestones were bright, a silver bell gave one small sigh into the folding night. The velvet seats were mostly bare, the brass rail held the blue. My silhouette on window glass kept wavering with you. Two strangers rose with parcel string, their footsteps reached the stones. Then all at once the tram felt large, and I felt less alone. At the quiet stop, one little bell grew soft and far, and drew me where old footfalls are. At the quiet stop, we passed the tailor's darkened door, the bakery gone dim, a shudder beat against the wall like some remembered hymn. I had not meant to leave my seat or lift my hat at all, yet something in the midnight turn answered that small call. The window kept one thread of light, the wires hummed overhead. A reverie moved down the aisle where other riders fled. No serenade came through the dark, no voice spoke out my name. Only the street, the rain-washed stones, the silence just the same. And yet beneath that common hush, a tender ache took part. For some old roads are never lost, once walked inside the heart. At the quiet stop, one little bell grew soft and far, drew me where old footfalls are, at the quiet stop. Sleeping blocks, the lamps grew pale and few. Still one last echo crossed the stones and traveled on with you.